in the vibration of love and joy and peace that radiates throughout this sanctuary, we now turn our attention inward. Breathing a little deeper. We let go of the busyness of the morning. We allow ourselves to be here within our body now. As we focus our attention around our heart, we begin to experience that peace. That peace that silence can bring. Thoughts can come and thoughts can go. But our focus is on peace. Be still now. As we surrender to the grace of God, the unconditional love of the universe, we are filled with joy. And we allow that joy to move throughout our bodies. We allow it to express as us. In the silence, we release anything that might block our joy. The truth of who we are, we willingly expand it out to fill this room, to be grateful for the vibration of the drums, the laughter of the children, the power of the presence of spiritual community. We are willing to take action from this place of trust. And we faithfully step forward into the new year, knowing all is well. So we let it be. Amen. Thank you, Pete, so much for that song. I requested it for this talk today. And with everything you've got going on, Pete, you sang that so beautifully, and that's the world we want to be creating, right? The wonderful world. With the drums and the holy hum of the children's voices, and then that beautiful song to center us on how life is beautiful if we perceive it that way, if we choose to look at it that way. Did you write the Lord's Prayer, the New Lord's Prayer too? That is amazing. That is just beautiful. I wish every Unity Church had that. Just beautiful, Pete. Thank you. We're all going to miss you when you're gone. He's going to Vietnam. He's not leaving. Relax, relax. No more major change for a few weeks anyway. Oh, so how did you do with being impeccable with your word? Pretty good? Yeah, it takes lots and lots and lots of practice, doesn't it? Being impeccable with our word means that we are awake to this moment now and what we are willing to contribute to others, to ourselves, to our family, to our jobs. It requires discipline. You know, and sometimes Unity folks aren't fond of that word. Have you noticed? Is it fun to be disciplined? Yeah, it is. But it takes practice. So the Buddhists have the Eightfold Path, you know, and one of the paths is right speech. So when we know we're not going in the right direction with our speech is when we're blaming others, when we're being divisive, coming in between others, when we're gossiping. Even though there is a charge with that, it is pure poison. Let others drink it, don't you? And so now, from this being impeccable with our word, we move on to the second agreement, which comes out of the first one too. Don't take anything personally. Has anyone here taken anything personally this morning? This week? Yeah, it's a natural inclination to say, well, what did they mean by that? I don't agree with that opinion. That's not going to work. So taking something personally that somebody else does or says to you is taking on an agreement with that word. So if somebody says, you gained a little weight, you go, more of me to love. You don't have to take it on unless you choose to. So I've got a story I want to share with you about my ex-husband. And when my dad was in the hospital, he begged my ex-husband to come see him. And George said, no, I don't want to see you in the hospital. I want to see you when you're at home. He said, you don't want, it's being in a hospital, the energy's not good. We'll relax, have a good time when you get home. And my dad said, please come. And he didn't. And my dad died. And George went into a tailspin. Because when his dad was dying, he begged George to come home. And George said, I'll be home on the weekend. And his dad was dead when we arrived. So he internalized all this guilt, all this shame, all this blame, that the two men who he respected and admired most in his life asked him something and he refused to give it to them. So it was a rough couple of weeks for him. And then one day I had a phone call from him, because we're still buds. Doesn't matter. We'll always be friends. He said, Carla, you're not going to believe what happened to me. And I said, what is it? Now, bear in mind, George is an accountant who said to me, my problem was I paid attention to my feelings too much. If I ignored my feelings, life would be so much better for me. Bless his heart. So I said, well, what happened? And he said, well, I went into a bookstore. And he said, I felt almost sick to my stomach. I was so depressed. And I was just wandering around. And all of a sudden, he doesn't think he's a lunatic, but he really is. All of a sudden, this book fell off the shelf. And the name of the book was The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. And he thought, wow, that's a weird title for a book. And he said, so Carla, I'm thumbing through the pages, and all of a sudden, on page 70, each chapter began with a quote. You know, there was one by Winston Churchill, one, other famous authors, Shakespeare. And on page 72, there was a quote by my father. We didn't even know it. And he said, trust yourself. Create the kind of life you will be happy to live with all your life. Make the most of yourself by fanning the tiny inner sparks of possibility into the flames of achievement. Pretty good advice, huh? Yeah. So here we are. We were in our grief. We didn't even know the guy who wrote the book. We don't know how he got the quote, but we bought up every copy we could of The Monk Who Sold His Ferrari. It's a sign. It's a sign from the universe. No matter what we are going through, whatever needs to happen to wake us up to life will happen. Ever read Just the Right Thing at the Right Time? Or heard somebody say something to you that uplifted your spirits, that empowered you to do a little bit more than you thought was possible? That's what we're creating here at Unity of Madison. So what happens when we take offense by something somebody says or does or an opinion they give? What happens with that? They're projecting their stuff onto you. It's really got nothing to do with you. You know the phrase, what you think about me is none of my business? You know, every Sunday when I'm getting prepared to share this time with you, it's very important to me that I'm authentic, that I'm inspiring. Maybe it's even afflicting the comfortable is not a bad thing either. Because sometimes we get too comfortable with the way we're doing things and we start to resist change, right? And so my hope is when I stand up before you that some word I will speak, something I will say will go, I'm going to hold on to that for a while. So not taking things personally, not caring what other people think, does not give you the right to run around and tell people your opinion. That isn't being truthful. You hear me? It's not being truthful. Because when you're truthful, there's always kindness. You can agree to disagree in a way that's kind, in a way that's generous, in a way that, okay, I know that within you is the Christ, as I know within me is the Christ, and we both have opinions, and probably they're not the same, but I love you anyway. And we can work together. and we can take action to move forward. So right now is a time, I love that beginning song, We Are the Ones, because that's what I want you guys to get more than anything else from me. It's not who's the next minister. It's we are the ones. We got to change ourselves. Get it? So when you're with your good friend and you're talking about other people, and maybe, I know you guys wouldn't, but you kind of slip into gossip or sharing your opinion that does not uplift but feels like poison. You know the opinion I'm talking about. Yucky or yummy. Either way, our choice. Yucky or yummy. So there's some spiritual tools that we can use to not take offense by what others say. And these spiritual tools work for anything we want to transform in our life. First, what's your intention? You know what I mean? It's your why. What's most important and meaningful to you right now? What's my intention? I usually have the intention to speak words that bless and heal, that unite and harmonize, so that we can do something extraordinary rather than the ordinary. You guys interested? Let's do the extraordinary. Let's not get caught up in the complaining, in the judging, in the excusing. Because we are 100% responsible for our life. We are. Nobody else is responsible. We're responsible for our children. And one of the most important questions we can ask ourselves is, who will take care of the children? And it's got to be us adults. That was Myrtle Fillmore's favorite question. Who will be taking care of the children? We are. That's our call to action. So how do we take care of the children around the world? What is it that I can do that would be an extraordinary contribution to the children of the world? So intention is really important. And for any of you who want to come to my deep dive class tomorrow night, we're going to do more work with intentions. You will leave with 3 life intentions, okay? And we'll begin to practice what it means to live from a life intention. So it's intention that directs our energy and our behavior. And then it's attention that affects our feelings, our moods, our opinions. And then our actions that change things. And then when you're done with that, you repeat it all over again. So it's intention, attention, action, repeat. Okay? Intention, attention, action, repeat. Faith without works doesn't count. What you say doesn't matter as much as how you say it and how you act from it. So I'm just going to plant a little bit of seed, because we're going to be doing more work together through the time I'm here. One thing I know for sure about this community: you don't like smells. I get it. I get it. I get it. And it's important to honor. It's life and death for some people. So I'm not denigrating that. But you got it on every door, every window, every place. So people come in, know, ooh, if I put on perfume or cologne or maybe hairspray, they don't want me. Is that what the message we want to be giving? I think we could expand the message. What do you think? Do we want to be known as the church that is kind, that is generous, that is loving? So let's be more intentional with how we say things and what we spread around our church and our community. Sound like a deal? Okay, so to clean up ourselves, it's an inward journey. It's an inward journey of looking at what's making me feel uncomfortable. Where's the pain point in me, in my body? See what I'm making that pain point mean. Tell the truth about it. Now, I'm not talking about the capital T truth that Unity people love. You know what I'm saying? Which spiritually bypasses the fact that you're in pain, which doesn't work for healing. And then people wonder why they're not healing. So you look at what's making you feel uncomfortable. You see what you're making that discomfort mean. You tell the truth about it. And you take action. You take action. Because otherwise, you're just wasting your time. You take action. You want to heal something, you got to act differently than you're acting right now, and you have to act it in the physical world. There's metaphysics and there's physical world. And in metaphysical reality, it sure is fun to vision, to dream, to set intentions, to share with one another ideas. In physical reality, it gets a little tougher. And we'll talk about this more in oncoming classes and talks. There is a way that we can make our dreams come true. There is a way that we can heal no matter what's going on in our life. There is a way that we can live more abundantly. There is a way we can create more peace. Do you believe it? Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's do it together. So, when you're taking things personally, I got a few tips for you. And I take things personally all the time. I kid you not. You'd think I would have ascended to a higher level of being. But I catch myself, because I'm watching for it. I catch myself when I feel yucky. Did I take that personally? I grew up, and I'm not excusing it, but I grew up the first of 4 children. And my mother always said, all I want is for my kids to be happy. What Carla heard was it was my job to make sure everybody was happy. What could I do to, resolve whatever problem anyone had? So I ran around trying to fix everything. Wrong. And then when I started practicing unity principles, rather than just sitting listening to them, I realized that wasn't my job. There's nothing to fix. You're already whole, perfect, and complete, just as you are right now, with your own answers and a voice of wisdom that's in there for you to find. And if I give you your answers, guess what? Doesn't work. Ever tried to raise kids by giving them your experience? Unfortunately, it seems such a waste of time. It doesn't work that way. I remember my daughter at 13 saying, Mom, I'm going to do it my way. And I said, the hard way? And she said, that's your opinion. So when we catch ourselves, being truthful with ourselves, you get your feelings hurt, being truthful. I got my feelings hurt. Doesn't mean there's something wrong with the other person. It just means some part of you agrees with what the other person said. So it's just time to clean it up. The minute we start practicing these agreements, it's a challenge, but we're up for it. We dissolve so much of the pain in our body. We are authentic. We can open the door to new possibilities. In fact, I say that's how miracles happen. Is you give up your opinion, you give up your closely held beliefs, perceptions, judgments. You surrender. Okay, I give up. This isn't working so well. I got really good judgments, but nobody seems to be wanting to be around me. What's up with that? I thought, that was a spiritual gift I had, but not so much. Not really. So I'm going to close with this coaching tip. When you find yourself taking something personally, practice the 4, I forgot the acronym. The 4 SWs. You know what the SWs are? So what? Some will, some won't, someone's waiting. So it's non-attachment to what's going on. We don't have to set somebody straight. We have to see it straight. So are you willing? Shall we see it straight right here? Can we be the one that's drawing to us someone who can take us the next step further? You guys are wonderful. I love being a part of this community. You're vibrant, you're alive, you're attractive, and there's room for improvement, just like there is for me. So we're in it together. We're in it to win it. This game of life, full out, courageous, compassionate, with as much loving kindness as we can generate. Thank you.